My YouTube studio flooded, so I rebuilt it in a closet. All my lights, cameras, monitors, and mics fit into this tiny space. Zoom calls, online classes, e-commerce, product photography. You don't have to be a YouTuber to get the most from this setup. Hello, I'm Jack, scientist and street photographer. And when my YouTube studio flooded last month, I nearly quit. And the photo walk I went on last night is the first one I've been on in a long time. But the biggest hurdle for filming is simply there's nowhere to put all that gear, which makes every new package I get in the mail, like this one, hard to manage. I decided to sell 3 lenses in an attempt to create more space. For webcams, Zoom calls, and any kind of creative endeavor, you need big, soft light sources. It all takes up too much space. One clamps all you need turns the whole closet into a giant, soft light source that doesn't eat into the space in the rest of the room. There are no sponsors for this video. I bought every single piece of gear in this video myself with my own money. Why build a YouTube studio in a closet? When I tried to do everything at my desk, the ultimate desk setup, there was no separation between productivity and filming. Everything was clamped to the desk and it was just too cluttered. I also built an all-in-one rolling stand for all my filming gear, but I was really scared of my toddler running into it and toppling it over. And it still took up too much space. Space is what I don't have right now with my old studio being flooded, and the item that takes up by far the most space is the light. But this closet build fixes that problem. My closet is less than 1 meter squared in size, so I can't fit that massive light dome onto the light while it's still inside the closet. With the reflector that comes with this light, I can bounce the light twice. Once against the inside wall of the closet, which then bounces out against the back of the closet door. Each bounce softens and increases the size of the light source. My closet, and I think most closets, are painted white or light colors on the inside, which means as you bounce the light against these surfaces, its color won't change. Whatever's in front of the closet with that bounce light will be lit with very natural, soft source. Use case 1 for this setup is product photography, because the key light is recessed inside this closet that gives me a lot more space in the rest of the room to work with. Tweaking the framing, the set deck, tones, and the color of lighting, it's all much easier to do when there's more room to play with. Continuous lighting isn't as powerful as strobes, but if I increase the intensity of these continuous lights, it can still overexpose surfaces quite evenly, like this closet door, which can serve as the minimalist backdrop for anything that I'm selling. The main advantage of continuous lighting is that it's continuous. The intensity doesn't change, and what you see is what you get. You don't need to tweak your camera settings once you dial it in at the start of that shooting session. The best part is when you're done with the shoot, just close the door and it's out of sight, out of mind. There's no extra mess. The first lens I decided to sell is one I'm gutted about, the Planner. It's the biggest lens in my collection. I didn't use it much on my last Japan trip, so it's really hard to justify holding onto it for now. I don't want to store it and not use it when I can re-divert the funds towards my studio repairs. I'm hoping to buy it back when this is all done and I have other telephoto primes to use in the meantime. Bounce light also works for shooting reflections, puddles, diffractor light bouncing off rain-soaked tables. Longer focal lengths work better for this. Before we get to my second use case, as a webcam for my Zoom calls and teaching online classes, I do have a couple of tips to make this more streamlined. A PowerPoint somewhere in the closet helps a lot. You can drill holes in the shelves like I did to pass power cords through. If not, it's not a big deal. You can run everything through battery power. I like V-mount batteries. These ones from Small Rig have USB-C power out as well as D-tap power. Another nice to have, not a must have, is if the closet shelves don't sit flushed against the door. That little bit of clearance helps with mounting the light fixtures and the angle of beam of light as it bounces. The last tip is to use a more powerful light than you think you need. Every time the light bounces, it loses intensity. And even though this is a 200 watt light, I'm only using it at 10%. It can get a lot brighter, but using it in an underpowered mode means the fans it has also don't kick on and there's less noise. Every item I use for these setups is listed in the video description below, but I also go through this whole build in detail on my website and weekly newsletter. Fair noise, of course, doesn't matter for product photography, but it does matter for my second use case for the setup, Zoom calls and online meetings. A lot of these happen very early in the morning or late at night. I tend to spend half my weeks doing these, so having a predictable source of light helps give me a high-end professional look. You can use the webcam from your laptop, but I use a mirrorless camera as my webcam. HDMI out cable connected to a capture card, which converts the live feed from my Sony FX3 into a webcam input on my computer. You can put the camera on the shelf with a height that best matches your eye line. No need for a tripod, that saves even more space. And the light bouncing off the closet door lights one side of my face and wraps around like classic Rembrandt lighting. Just to be safe though, I also secured my camera using a super clamp to a shelf once I figured out my main angle, so I don't bump the camera and change my angle accidentally. Totally up to you how you want to do this, but ideally the background should be a corner or have two sides of the frame that look different for visual contrast. If you do mount your camera to the closet shelf to save space so that it sits inside the closet, any lens wider than a 35 will catch the corners of the closet. So I prefer to use a 50. This means I'm a little further away from the camera though, which solves one problem while creating another. Longer lenses work better for shooting reflections. I like to look for a bright patch on the glass, which contrasts against the silhouette or shadow, and you'll lose a bit of contrast when shooting across panes of glass anyway. The second lens I decided to sell is my 26mm f2.8 for Z-mount. I love the optical quality and the form factor, but the widest I like to shoot, I've realized, is 28mm. On the 28mm f2.8, it's such good value, it's hard to justify holding on to both the 26 and 28, especially when I prefer shooting these days on longer focal lengths. What problem does a 50mm solve? Well, I can have my notes sitting just above the camera on an iPad, and the parallax and working distance of a 50 make it seem like I'm looking into the lens even though I'm looking in my notes. But the problem a 50 creates for video is that I'm further away from the camera, which means any mic I use needs to cover that distance. You can use a wireless mic, but I personally like to use XLR mics, which does mean I need an audio interface that accepts XLR cables. This is why having a power outlet in the closet is handy. I can plug in my laptop and power the audio interface, or while the meeting or class is going, or if your camera has an XLR adapter like my Sony FX3, then you can plug the mic directly into that. Normally I love my podcast mics for video, but for this setup, a shotgun mic works better. I can mount it to an Elgato low-profile microphone arm that's actually designed for clamping to a desk, but this time I'm clamping it onto my closet shelf. The shotgun mic I use is the Sennheiser MKH416, but really any shotgun will do. It's the form factor. It's longer and lighter than podcast mics, which means it can reach closer to me. It's only about 10 centimeters away. Technically, you can still use a part of the rest of the closet as a closet. And if you use it to store any clothes, that will only help improve the audio quality, absorbing the echo and reverb through the fabric in your closet. And what that means is my lights, camera, microphone, iPad is all being charged and powered inside the closet, and it all packs away when I close the door as soon as my meeting is done. Another tip to streamline the setup, which is a nice to have, not a must have, is an external monitor. Again, a 50mm lens puts me a little further away from the camera, so an external monitor that's at least 5 inches in size, it makes it easier for me to see my composition. HDMI out is the only feature I'm looking for in addition to size of the monitor, which means you can run your camera into this monitor, and the monitor's HDMI out can run out via capture card to your computer if you want to use it as a webcam. This tip is especially handy for my third and final use case for the setup, which is video production for YouTube. For filming talking head A-roll, I just need to open a closet door, the lighting's nice and soft, everything is dialed in. You're seeing it right now. I can load my notes and script on the iPad, see my framing in the monitor, and start recording high quality audio via the shotgun mic and video in less than a minute. For filming B-roll, I can either use the same angle, just hold things up to the camera as I talk, or I can use the bounce light off the closet wall to a nearby table that films top-down shots. The light is bright and soft enough to not need to set up an extra light without any light stands. Use that extra space to add more lights outside the closet. This creates texture in the frame. I like using the Spotlight Mini from Aperture with a little gobo to project this pattern you can see in the background, as well as some tube lights to add ambience without taking up space in the room. But it all starts with a light that's inside this tiny closet. My studio remake is underway, but this setup has made me rethink how minimalist I can make my next setup when it's ready to go. Part of that minimalism is paring down my lens collection, and the third and last lens I'm letting go of is a 105mm. It could be the 105mm f1.8 AIS, the lens I used on last night's photo walk. I love the results coming out from that vintage manual focus optic, but maybe I won't let it go because the package that just arrived in the mail is its more famous sibling, the legendary 105mm f2.5 versus this f1.8. There's no need for me to keep both, especially as this is the telephoto lens I wish Nikon would remake in Z-mount. Which 105 I keep will be covered in the next video here when it's ready to go. I'm Jack. This is Bokeh Therapy.